Wow, do I have a good news for you today? It's time for us to get some good news from the Philippines. Some changes that's happening right now as we speak. Stay with me. That's what we'll talk about. Well, Philippines seem to be starting to get into a state of normalcy. Things seem to be going back, not quite there yet, but seem to be going back to how it used to be. Let's take a look at the two resolutions. IATF resolution that is a welcome news for us. Let's look at resolution number 164. This is dated March 10. That was yesterday. And rather than read through the whole thing, I'll just show you the key areas. I highlighted the important ones. Philippines is now going back to full seating capacity for public transportation. That is effective March 24, 2022. No more restriction as to capacity on public transportation. Now, they did not mention airlines, but it's talking about all buses bound for provinces. They shall not be required to use the integrated terminal exchange. That's good news. Also, as far as the vaccination certificate, which one is acceptable as vaccination certificate, the ones used in their country is accepted in the Philippines, and there were 3 countries that were added, and that is Croatia, Cyprus, and Nepal. Their local vaccination certificate will now be accepted in the Philippines. Also, Iloilo City shall be de-escalated to Alert Level 1 effective immediately, but only until March 15. So March 15 there could be another change. So we'll have to wait and see what that's like. Now we're going to talk about the more important one. This is resolution number 164-A, also effective as of March 10. They're saying that entry, testing, and quarantine protocols for foreign nationals arriving from abroad are being changed. They did not put any effective date, so I assume the effective date is as of yesterday also, March 10. It says foreign nationals. This is for foreign nationals entering the Philippines visa-free. Okay, visa-free. Foreign nationals traveling to the Philippines for business and tourism purposes may enter the Philippines without visa provided they are citizens of the following countries entitled to stay not exceeding 30 days, subject to extension, of course. So these are the visa-free tourists who are coming in. You don't need a visa. You'll be given a pass for 30 days. Or, okay, they also added Hong Kong Special Administrative Region or Macau SAR passports are entitled to stay for a period not exceeding 14 days. They're given a 14-day pass. That's something new. Are fully vaccinated as defined in section A2 below, except only for minor children below 12 years of age traveling with their fully vaccinated parent. Cannot be alone. You have to be traveling with a fully vaccinated parent. You have to present a negative rt-pcr test. Now listen to this, okay? Taken within 48 hours, that's the old news. This is the new news. Or a negative laboratory-based antigen test taken within 24 hours. Well, antigen test is number one, so cheap. Probably it'll cost you $5 to $10, maybe no more. And in some cases, it's free if you have insurance and your insurance will cover it. And you can get the result in 15 to 30 minutes, at the most maybe 1 hour. So that's a very good news. So I know a lot of people have a problem getting this rt-pcr test in 48 hours. Some states have no problem. Some states, it's a problem. Like in my case, I am not sure I can get it within 48 hours. So that's a very good news. Am I going to go with the antigen test? I might, but I'll look for somebody who's going to just do a throat swab rather than a nasal swab. I don't like the nasal swab. It's too invasive. Have passports valid for a period of at least 6 months at the time of their arrival in the Philippines. So the 6 months, to count the 6 months, you start from the time you arrive in the Philippines. So even if you're staying for 1 year, if your passport at the time you arrive is valid only up to 6 months, you will be allowed. Now this is an important one. Except for foreign spouses or children of Filipino citizens and former Filipino citizens with balikbayan privilege, these are the balikbayan people, okay, under Republic Act number 9174, including their foreign spouse and or children who are not balikbayan in their own right, provided they are traveling with them in the Philippines, have valid tickets for their return journeys to the port of origin or next port of destination, not later than 30 days of arrival in the Philippines. So these people are the ones who are only given a 30-day visa when you arrive, for example. So if you are a foreigner, you have a U.S. passport, but you don't have a birth certificate, you don't have an old Philippine passport, you cannot get a balikbayan, so you can only go for 30 days. You will be required to have a return ticket. When are you not going to be required to have a return ticket? It is when you're a Filipino citizen, you're a dual citizen, or a former Filipino citizen, if you can document that, including your spouse, foreign spouse, and or children. You are not required to have a return ticket. I hope that's clear. Those who are not coming back as a balikbayan, you could be a Filipino, but you cannot prove that you're a former Filipino, meaning you don't have the necessary document. So you will just rely on the fact that you'll be entitled to 30-day visa-free. You will be required to have a return ticket within 30 days. But if you are a balikbayan, you are not. Obtain prior to arrival a travel insurance for COVID-19 treatment costs of the reputed insurers with a minimum coverage of $35,000 US for the duration of their stay in the Philippines. Now, look at my previous vlog that talks about how to play this game, because this thing is senseless, completely nonsense. You get a COVID-19 insurance, guess what? It's not acknowledged in the Philippines. There are very, very few insurance, or very few people who told me anyway, that their insurance was accepted for a direct pay. Whether you have insurance or not, it's for your own protection, but you need to have cash to get to the hospital in the Philippines. They will not acknowledge any or almost any insurance. Now, this is a very important one. Whether we have this requirement or not, forget about this requirement. Let's say back from whenever you go to the Philippines, you are at risk if you don't have any insurance that will cover you. And even if you had U.S. insurance that will cover you, you need to pay cash first, and then you submit your claim to the insurance company, and they will reimburse you. What if you don't have the cash? You're in trouble. So now, Philippines is even requiring that you get this insurance for what? For what? It's a no change, because even before you have to pay cash anyway. But anyway, this requirement's still there. So watch my previous vlog if you want to play this game and you want to get away with it. Foreign nationals from visa-required country. If you're not in a visa-free country, that's the 157 countries. Foreign nationals from visa-required, that means if you need a 9A visa, countries or restricted nationals may enter the Philippines through an entry exemption certificate. So you need to have an entry exemption certificate. So foreign nationals entering through 9A visa, foreign spouses and children of Filipino citizens who are not nationals of Executive Order 408 countries, You may enter the country without need of an entry exemption document, provided you have been issued a 9A visa, and there should be an appropriate notation on the visa saying that you do not need an EED. Now, here is the entry, testing, and quarantine protocol for Filipino nationals. For fully vaccinated Filipinos, present a negative PCR test, rt-pcr test, taken within 48 hours. That's the old rule. Or, this is the new rule, negative laboratory-based antigen test taken within 24 hours. That is a lot cheaper, and you can get this in 15 minutes to 1 hour maybe, okay? And and sometimes your insurance may even cover you. For example, my insurance from Humana will cover me for this. I don't have to pay anything. And it says, prior to the date and time of departure from the country. If I'm leaving at 4 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, I need to get it no earlier than 4 o'clock in the afternoon today. Okay? Now, what happens if there's a delay, a flight delay, or, then I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle that. I would assume that they will go to the original scheduled flight because that is beyond your control anyway. And it says, prior to the date, from the country of first port of embarkation, excluding layovers, provided he or she has not left the airport premises. Okay, for example, I'm in Philadelphia. If I will catch my flight in New York to go through Taiwan or Manila or wherever, it's my first embarkation point is Philadelphia. Now, if I'm leaving Philadelphia, go to New York, then I leave the airport to visit my son in Connecticut, then come back to the airport, then get that later flight, I left. So the key time you're supposed to key in the count of 48 hours or 24 hours will be the time when I'm scheduled to leave New York. Now, what happens to unvaccinated, partially unvaccinated, or Filipino nationals whose vaccination status cannot be independently validated? Again, same thing, negative rt-pcr test 48 hours before departure, or negative antigen test within 24 hours. The same rule applies. And by the way, it says here, laboratory-based antigen test. So don't use any of those self-testing thing that the government provides you and say, gee, here's my test. No, it has to come from a laboratory. You're supposed to get a laboratory report. Wow, that's good news. The only thing I don't like is the fact that they still have this insurance requirement. But there's a way to play that game, and you can see that in my previous vlog. So this is a welcome change. We're getting there. I'm waiting for that insurance thing to be removed because that's senseless to me. Okay, and in fact, I'm also against this invasive PCR test. But with the antigen, as long as they're gonna do a swab test and not stick something in my nose, I think I'm okay with that. So does it mean I'm going to jump in? I don't know. I think I'm going to wait until after the election. I may change my mind, but that is really good. Now, once you arrive in the Philippines, a lot of the places are now level 1, which is close to being normal. That will give you some freedom to move around also. But just coincidentally, it's only a few months before the election, right? What did I say before? All this will go away before the election? Well, it's going away before the election. So, thank God, we deserve this. And I hope it's not going back to the old way, because that was really bad. Over 2 years. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please do share this with others. That's a little bit of good news that we need right now. And I'll appreciate it if you click like and do subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so. Thank you, God bless, and make it a great day.